the Karamojong of Uganda. Cattle herders and warriors. They are known for their fearlessness and resilience to some of the harshest living conditions in the region. This is Karamojong, northeastern Uganda, remote and underdeveloped, touching the Kenyan and Sudan borders. It is an area plagued by seasonal drought. The battle for scarce resources defines the Karamojong lifestyle. Life revolves around cattle, their most precious possession. The animals provide traditional wealth and sustenance. Blood, here taken from the artery in the neck, is mixed with milk for food. The milk is churned to make butter or ghee for the women and children. Karamojong rituals reflect the environment they live in. Songs of marriage, rain and the fight for cattle. But now they have a new battle on their hands. Climate change. This is a very different enemy, an invisible one that threatens their very culture and livelihood. Climate change is a modern curse inflicted all too often on ancient cultures. Caused mainly by wealthy nations, it is suffered most acutely by remote communities like the Karamojong, and the results threaten to be devastating. Climate variability means dry periods are longer and droughts bite harder. Weather patterns are increasingly unpredictable. There is less time to recover between the extremes and less time to plan. Logiel Pio has 5 wives and 23 children. Severe droughts have hit countries in the region with greater frequency, like this one in southern Somalia. Devastating to communities who depend on their animals, help usually comes too little, too late. By the time the emergency food aid arrives, animals have died in great numbers. Malnutrition and disease weakens the community and kills the vulnerable. And then the other extreme, floods, like these in Uganda. Huge swathes of land submerge, crops are damaged, roads are cut. Emergency assistance is mobilized, but the damage is already profound. Repeated climatic shocks like these make it difficult for communities to recover and difficult to prepare for the next time. But an important new approach is helping the Karamojong cope with drought. The Drought Preparedness Programme, funded by ECHO, the Humanitarian Aid Department of the European Commission, is a €30 million project that helps preserve the livelihoods of over 12 million people in the Greater Horn of Africa. It targets the most vulnerable, the nomadic and semi-nomadic pastoralists. Like the Karamojong, these are communities who depend on moving their cattle around to find pasture, but in some cases also plant crops.
It's a new approach in terms that we are attempting to prepare the communities for the next drought instead of waiting for a drought to happen and then come in with emergency responses, which are invariably too late. The main vulnerability is drought, and that is being exacerbated by increasing demographic pressures. Population growth has been tremendous in these areas, and the combination of that together with climate change has had a real, I would say, close to devastating impact on the livelihoods of these communities.
Partner organisations in the field work with the community to find out existing ways of managing drought. This means using local knowledge and practices, like identifying traditional methods of food storage and access to water, and reinforcing them. Water points are critical and need to be maintained. Boreholes are rehabilitated. Early warning information allow communities time to prepare, market routes improved, and animal health services expanded. Logiel, who lives near Moroto town, says he prepares for drought by setting aside some of the animals to be sold. With cash, he can buy food for the family. He also makes charcoal and says the women collect wild fruits and leaves for storage. The Drought Preparedness Programme listens and identifies needs like these. It tries to improve availability of existing resources. It also supports access to markets and pasture, the pillar of survival. Mobility is important to the Karamajong. With no regard for borders and formalities, they trek far with their animals to look for new pasture. But this nomadic lifestyle often clashes with the restrictions imposed by central government. There have been various attempts to disarm and settle the Karamajong into a more sedentary lifestyle, a push towards relying more on market crops than herds of cattle. But this can also undermine the ability of the community to cope with climatic variability, as can security operations. The Ugandan army set up large protective kraals in 2007 during a mass disarmament exercise. It came at a time when northeastern Uganda was affected by unusually heavy rains. Confinement encouraged the spread of animal diseases. Michael Ade, working with Madefo, himself a Karamajong, provides mobile veterinary services. Here in one of the kraals, he is on the lookout for sick animals. Working with the Drought Preparedness Programme, he encourages owners to seek proper veterinary treatment for their animals instead of using traditional methods. He takes time to walk around the kraal, reducing the feelings of suspicion, and teaches basic animal health care.
I have always committed myself to move to them so that I just don't talk. I've always been moving and doing the treatment so that now, by the fact that the animals recover, they have realized that at least there is a need for a trained person to help in the treatment.
Michael discovers that this man, Reuben, has lost almost 3/4 of his herd of goats and sheep. Michael is concerned that the herd may have been infected by a contagious viral disease, PPR, otherwise known as goat plague. After examining the animals, he persuades Reuben to let him take one of the sick animals for examination. Back at the laboratory, the animal is killed and examined. Identifying diseases is a critical part of improving animal health and increasing resilience to the effects of drought. Edward Okori, veterinary officer, is head of the FAO Karamojong program for drought preparedness. He says that although the new program is not as visible as emergency food aid, it is breaking new ground.
I'm really quite sure that there should be some positive trend in the future because now we are building the foundation and the communities are really appreciating. They are responding quickly. They appreciate the importance of early warning system, that most of the problems they have encountered is because of lack of preparedness.
The programme aims to strengthen the resourcefulness of the community, increasing the ability to resist worsening climatic shocks. It also hopes to break the cycle of dependency on emergency food aid. Up to 70% of the Karamajong have received food aid at one time or another, but this cannot be a long-term answer. The impact of climate change, along with the pressure of population increase and reduction of available resources, means new approaches are needed. Community-based drought management is leading the way in Karamojong.
These are not very visible things, but in all the same, and they're having a huge impact on the livelihood preservation of the communities. The owners will be very much on the communities themselves. They will have to do it, and they will be responsible for their own livelihoods largely, instead of creating this huge dependency syndrome.